Hi everybody, welcome to the January webinar for the LinkedIn community. I am re-recording this just from scratch because I had some more technical problems. Basically, it recorded my audio of me speaking, but it didn't record the audio of the participants, so it looked like I was talking to myself, and then I had quite a lot of dead air. I was going to edit it all down, but to be honest, I just thought it would be easier to re-record it from scratch because the editing made it a bit like bit messed up, and you couldn't see who I was talking to and stuff. So instead of wasting, an hour watching a video with a webinar that doesn't make a lot of sense, I've decided to record a whistle stop of January webinar. And I might do this most months, to be honest, because if you didn't attend, that's totally fine. Obviously, not everyone can come every month, but if you didn't come, you might not want to watch an hour of us chatting on for an hour because it is a very casual environment. If you've ever been to the webinars live, you'll know that although there are slides, sometimes we'll get stuck on a slide for a while and we'll help one person out with a problem and we'll have a chat through it. So it can be good to be there for that, but equally, if you're not there, you'll find us just chatting on and it might not necessarily be relevant. So I'm going to go through the presentation, just me, and upload this onto the site so that you can access it. And I'm also going to put the slides on there so you can access those as well if you'd rather just go through them yourself. And there'll also be, you'll have got this from the newsletter. So there's the email newsletter and there's the LinkedIn community as well. So there's lots to keep you going throughout the month with regards to LinkedIn content. Because we had a month off in December, this is technically 2 months worth of webinar, and that's why on the first slide, well, first of all, I'm just going to say welcome to the new members. We've got some new members, which is really exciting. I'm going to talk about some of the basics today, not super basic, but I'm just going to talk about profiles again because we've got new members who maybe haven't always been there for some of that stuff. Your posts from this month, so posts from some posts that I've kind of picked at random from people in the group. And finally, oh no, second from finally, some algorithm updates, and then finally some writing prompts. So that's generally the way that this webinar works. If you've been before, you'll know, but normally what I do is we'll look at some posts from last month from some of the recurring members. We will maybe have a focus. So we did a month where we focused on LinkedIn stories, or today I'm just going to talk about profile upgrading. Um, and sometimes we just do lots of writing prompts, or someone might come to the table with a particular problem that they're having, and we'll talk about that. So, like I say, it's casual, it's flexible. I'm not stuck to any kind of agenda in the session. If you want to talk about something else, or if you're having a problem, it can be good to ask me beforehand because then I maybe can do some research and give you some input. But if you come to the table with a problem on the day, that's totally fine. So hopefully I'll see some more nice smiling faces in February. Just for the last 2 months, some really good posts. We had a couple of posts subverting the Blue Monday idea. So Lauren, who is a brand photographer, talked about how lots of other brands were talking about Blue Monday, but actually, um, well, she really liked that she'd seen some brands who weren't talking about Blue Monday, and actually they were talking about positivity and the fact that here's a great picture which is like heavily tonally blue, but it's full of positivity and hope, which I think is something that we all need right now. So I really like that one. And one from Mark, who was a copywriter. Just this is great because he's talking about what he does. So you might not know, or his audience might not know what a copywriter does, or they might not know that he offers this particular service of copywriting, which is tone of voice, which I understand is one of his specialisms. But it's also done in like a nice way where he talks about, yeah, he's been working all weekend, so that gives him a human side to him. People see that that's the sort of thing that he's doing. He loves his job because it's worth it. And yeah, he's talking about doing tone of voice for Mascot Dog, which just seems like such a fun job. So Catherine has decorated her home office with this really nice Madagascar like wallpaper, which I love. And that was a really nice one. Also, no Blue Monday here. So, I mean, you can see that that's only one line of text, but it's still just like a nice little post. And I've said in the past, consistency and frequency is unfortunately really important with LinkedIn. So you're not going to start seeing any significant results if you're only posting once a month, twice a month. So even if you're posting several times a week, which is what you should be doing, not every post has to be a big, long, well thought out essay. It can be just something like this. I think this is the final one. It is Nicola, who's one of our newer members, is a mortgage advisor, and she has just put up this she's just had this advertising put up in Whitley Bay. It looks fantastic. I actually built her website, so obviously I'm totally biased with Nicola, but it looks lovely. It's in Whitley, which is where I'm from, and I share quite a lot of comments, and it's just nice because she's obviously saying here, whoops, she's saying that she's for people that didn't know that she now runs her own business because she was previously a mortgage advisor at another company, so now she's running her own business, and this is like a nice way of sharing that news. And obviously, you can see you've got quite a lot of comments. So, those were some really, really great posts from this month. Loads of great posts actually when I was looking through new members and old members. What I want to talk about is might seem really obvious, but I just want to go through the idea of going back to basics with your profile. Hopefully, everyone's profile is all-star level because we've talked about that a lot and how all-star profiles do get LinkedIn does prioritize content posted by people with all-star profiles. So if you haven't got an all-star profile, you will know that that's the it's like the grading. It's kind of like there's normally a picture on here, but I haven't got one on the slideshow. But it's like a circle, and it gets more and more full. The more you fill out your profile, so make sure you go through your profile, make sure it's filled out. But equally, just because your profile is filled out, it doesn't mean that you need to just like leave it forever. I think it's really important to think about refreshing your profile for the year. One thing you can do is to change your profile photo. People get used to your old one and they will kind of start to filter you out. So I would say if you've got other photos, change them, change it regularly, make sure it still looks like you. If featured section, I've got an example here. If you've been in the news, if you've got a portfolio, something, I've got my newsletter and my website on there, but I could post maybe other things. I could put the LinkedIn toolkit, I could put YouTube channel or something like that in there. So whatever you're using to create content, are you running an event? You could change it up with your events. Also, you can put projects under your current roles. So I've got projects under past roles so people can see that this is an industry I've worked in for a long time. But equally, I've got some websites on there from other brands, and actually some of those are quite old. So I might should go on there soon and just make sure that I've got some of the more modern, some of the more recent websites that I've built under my projects. So that was one thing that I think could be worth putting an hour to one side and just saying, right, is this picture still good? Could I change it? Do I have something under my featured section? What about my bio? Obviously, I haven't talked about that here, but I've talked about that a lot in the past with regards to having a good bio. Does the personality come across in that? So yeah, that's really, really important. January algorithm update. Sometimes I do this and there's not a lot of change, but actually there has been a lot of change this month. Text posts are still king. I've seen a few studies now that have shown that content from posts with just text as opposed to photos or videos are still performing like really, really highly. And LinkedIn wants you to post helpful, insightful content. If you don't have a photo or a video, like don't worry about it because in fact it looks like text posts are performing better. That's not to say don't post photos or videos, but just something to keep in mind. Like I've said in the past, comments are still the most important currency of LinkedIn. So if you are seeing people's posts and you like them, don't just like them. Please try and comment on them because they might comment back on yours. And also, if people comment on your posts, please try to comment back. And that was that just common decency, but also helps to remove up your content on the news feed. So this was also a post from somebody about some algorithm changes. I'm not sure how much of this is true. It's a lot just kind of speculation. If you're not massively interested in algorithms, you can just skip this part as well. Some people are really fascinated by it, and some people just think, I don't really care. I'm just going to get on with posting it and see what works. But I'm probably in the middle, and I am interested in it, but I don't want the algorithm to guide my way and get rid of my creativity and make it just try and please the algorithm all the time. So first of all, if people from big corporate companies are engaging with your post, you'll get more reach, which is interesting. I don't have a lot of people from big companies on mine because I am a freelancer and I work with small businesses, so maybe that's not relevant to me, but it might be to you. It's great if you tag people in your post. I read somewhere that if the person tagged in the post doesn't reply, it will negatively impact the views. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's very interesting. So make sure if you tag somebody, it's somebody that you know, and you're not just trying to piggyback on, someone famous, like someone famous's account. Views from posts with external links went up. I noticed that this month. I posted, normally I would always write my post, without the link, press edit and put the link in afterwards, because that was what I was taught would be well, that's what I learned would be a great way to um, trick LinkedIn into thinking that there wasn't an external link. But it looks like that LinkedIn stopped people from doing that, and have also, as you can see in the next one, comment if you are putting a comment. If you post a link in the first comment, which a lot of people do now, you're getting punished for it. So just post the links, like try and post the links as normal links and see what happens. Because I did that last week with my newsletter and I got a decent reach. I mean, a couple of thousand. So that was really good for an external link. Um, if you're posting a blog or a newsletter or something, most of the time it's a blog or a news article, try to summarize it in the text. Don't just post it and say, read my blog. Try to put like maybe a mini version or a blurb for the blog before you post it. That's definitely how you get it, because not everyone's going to click through and read it. Some people are just going to read your post about it. And if you don't provide any value in that small amount of text that you've got, then you're not really fulfilling the point of posting on LinkedIn. So that's interesting. Video views are decreasing, which again, really interesting. I don't know if that's a consumer, like a user behavior thing, or if that's because the algorithm isn't pushing them out to as many people. Yep, engagement is key on these text posts. You really want to have good engagement. You want to have good comments. You want to have people interacting. You want to really kind of post about something or encourage people. This is why we always talk about putting questions at the end of our posts. Encourage people to go from being lurkers to being participants in the conversation. So, oh, finally, there was a good point on there about your track record means everything. I think that's really interesting because if you've done well, if I posted something and it reached 5,000 people earlier in the week, the next day's post is going to kind of still do quite well, because if you have always received higher engagement on your posts, your post will be showcased more often. So that's difficult if you've never posted before, but it's just something to keep in mind. As with everything, it is a long-term kind of commitment. It's consistency. It's about, you can't just post once and see amazing returns. This whole point of this toolkit, and the reason that it's a monthly membership and not a one-off thing, is because we have to be consistent in order to see good results, and that's why we have the accountability and we have the monthly webinars and the writing prompts to help people constantly have new ideas, or constantly bring old ideas back to the forefront. So this section won't take too long, because obviously this isn't the actual webinar, so I'm not going to talk to you guys about what you could put for this, but the first writing activity is a prompt. Sometimes I'll do prompts and sometimes I'll do questions, but this one is, it's a question actually, is what's your current work setup? How has it changed since the pandemic? So that's interesting because it was inspired by Catherine's post where she put up that really cool jungle wallpaper. So a lot of people have been working at the kitchen table, or they've been sharing an office space with their partner, but now that we're in kind of a mid to longer term working from home setup, a lot of people have started investing more in their home working space. So you could talk about a new bit of kit you bought or a new gadget. You could talk about something that's changed that you didn't think you would like working from home, or you're still struggling with that. Like, obviously vulnerability and honesty is really, really important as well. So I'm just normally what I would do, if you're in the live webinars, I would give you a couple of minutes to write down your ideas. You could share, and then ask you at the end. You can share it if you want. You don't have to, but some people usually do. So we have a chat about them, and then sometimes one member of the group has an idea for another member. It's normally really good in that sense. So instead, I'm going to skip to my response for that, which was, obviously I've always worked from home, but it still feels really different to me. And instead of talking about how I've changed my working from home setup, because I haven't really, I'm talking about things that I miss. So I do really miss visiting clients. I do miss working in the coffee shops. I miss taking the dogs to meet clients as well, or new leads, because, well, especially Potter, he used to come with me on a lot of meetings. And I even kind of miss the mania of trying to find a car parking space. Maybe not quite, but just a little bit of like humor, because everyone knows what it's like when you go and meet a client for the first time and you don't know where to park, and you're in the visitor bay and you're not sure if that's a visitor bay and all of that. So, and then at the end, I would end it with a question, and then 3 hashtags, because that's what we usually do. So that's a my response is quite tangential to the prompt, but it doesn't have to be the answer to the prompt. All the point of the prompt is to get you kind of thinking. Writing prompt two, what's the biggest assumption people make about you or your business? So in the call on the webinar, we had a few women in the group who work in the tech or IT industries, and we had a really good discussion about how even though it's 2021, women in tech are, there are assumptions made about how women in tech don't necessarily know, or all of the technical side of it, especially older women. So over 40, over 50, if you're in the technology or IT space, you're immediately kind of looked at as being not as smart as a male counterpart, or you can't possibly be the one who runs the show. You must just be, the PA or something like that. So actually, my response was also about misconceptions about being a woman in the industry, especially on the design side. I find that like people feminize design, and I think this would probably be, if you were a man working in design, you would probably find this even more impactful. How, there's a joke about you color, designers coloring in, which we all make, but in reality, people will, I've had clients infer that they do the difficult man stuff, and then the design bit is just like the feminine flourish, when actually a lot more goes into design. And then since Craig joining the business, I've definitely noticed people interacting differently with him. I've had all sorts of instances. We had a phone call, a Zoom call, where the client would like hardly even speak to me. He was like interrupting me, but he was like, responding to Craig. And it's ironic because I do the technical side of the web stuff and Craig leads on the content. So for people to think that because I'm female, I'm not the one who's leading on that, it's just wrong. So if you're comfortable with posting about stuff like that, but if not, misconceptions can be about age, it can be about gender, it can be about your actual discipline, that it's really complicated when it's not, or that it's more complicated than people think. It's just, misconceptions are a really, really good topic of conversation. I think it's just something that you really, really could get a lot of legwork out of. You could get a lot of posts out of that. The final writing prompt is like a mini case study. I think this is really nice if you've got a client who is happy to be mentioned. If you don't, you could just maybe say, oh, recently I worked with helped the lady get a mortgage on a second home or whatever. You don't have to name the person, but if the person is comfortable with being named, then you can. Fortunately, I built Nicola's website, who we talked about before, the mortgage advisor. She's just joined this group. And I talked about the power of networking and how I had met Nicola at networking, and I had done it I've been in the networking group for over a year now, and it was only when Nicola went self-employed that she started her own business, was that she decided she needed a website, and we'd already built a good relationship. So just the power of networking groups was my response to that. So it's it's a little bit on the side. You could just talk about the case study. And I know that Lauren, the photographer in the group, does that really well. She talks about all of her shoots and shares pictures from them. And I really, really like that. If you've got a visual medium, if you've got results, that is the best. Because if you've got, data or analytics to prove the success, if you've got, you can demonstrate growth in sales from your services, something like that. I think that's really, really powerful. So I've really whizzed through this actually in less than 20 minutes, which is great because it just shows that when you actually come to the webinar, like half of it is us just chattering on and helping each other with ideas, which I love, but maybe not as interesting for people who, who are really watching it back and can't contribute to the chat. But if you've got any questions, you can contact me direct, or it's best to put it in the LinkedIn community because then other people can respond if they, if they have answers, if they have had that similar occurrence, if I'm not there, or Craig can respond as well. So it's been great chatting with you guys. I will be sending out the date for the February webinar at the same time as this. And of course, don't forget you can get the slides, and I'll see you in the LinkedIn group. Bye.